Senator Ron Johnson from Senate Budget. Senator, so great to see you. Okay, we have a lot to talk to you about tonight, but this fight over runaway spending, it's slamming everyone's standard of living with record inflation. Will the president listen to Democrat Senator Joe Manchin? Because Joe Manchin is saying, Biden, you're to blame for the debt ceiling crisis. You have a deficiency of leadership. You should negotiate now on spending cuts they're not MAGA, that stuff. And Manchin's saying, you, Joe Biden, you're the one risking U.S. default. Is Biden going to listen to Manchin here? Because more Democrats seem to be saying, Biden, you're wrong.
I doubt it. Listen, I give the House Freedom Caucus a fair amount of credit. These are individuals like myself who've never voted for an increase in the debt ceiling, and yet they've come up with basically the opening negotiation. Reasonable policies, increase the debt ceiling, don't default on our debt, which, by the way, we never would do anyway. I mean, this is a phony made-up crisis, but increase the debt ceiling, but attached to it fiscal controls. And what the House ought to do is pass that measure with Republican votes. That's the first step of the negotiation. So I don't think Biden's going to voluntarily enter negotiations. So start for him by passing something in the House.
You know, Senator, so the president reportedly going to announce his 2024 re-election bid next week. You know, how can he ask for 4 more years when the majority of Americans say the country is going in the wrong direction? More than 7 out of 10 say that. His polls in the economy are still falling across the board, and he's going to ask Americans for 4 more years?
Well, the advantage he has is that, 9 out of 10 journalists are totally in his camp. They're dedicated radical leftists themselves, so they'll continue to cover up for him. It's a big problem we have in this country, that the media is so in the tank for the radical left policies of this president. And let's face it, Liz, had you set out to design a plan to destroy this country, I don't think you could have come up with one better than what the Biden administration is actually implementing right now.
Yeah, so the point is, too, is that the president, he's not just the president of the far left or the Democrat Party, he's the president of all of America. Now we've got, moving on to this, 3 members of Biden's cabinet caught up in the Hunter Biden scandal. It's Treasury Secretary Yellen stonewalling on the release of suspicious activity reports about their deal-making overseas, Secretary of State Blinken, and AG Garland, and you're demanding a special counsel to look into possible obstruction of justice at Biden's DOJ and more, after that IRS agent and whistleblower said, yeah, I've got emails, government documents, I'm going to name names about political interference in the DOJ's probe into the Hunter Biden tax evasion case done to protect the president. What's happening in D.C. right now on all of this?
Well, first of all, I want to ask any of your listeners, are any of you surprised that there was political interference into the investigation of Hunter Biden? Is anybody surprised that these cabinet members are doing things completely political? This shouldn't surprise anybody. But it is outrageous what is happening. And, what my concern is, because now we have reports that Hunter Biden's attorneys, now this has all been exposed. Now all of a sudden they want to meet with the U.S. Attorney Weiss. I've always been concerned that the end result of this will be a plea deal, in which part of the deal will be to seal all the records, and the American public will never know the full truth. That would be a travesty of justice.
Yeah, so there was talk of 4 charges brought against Hunter Biden. One would be a tax evasion felony. And, you know, the other thing, so if the records get sealed, the House GOP is going to have to fight like the devil, House Oversight and Judiciary, to find out what's really going on with the Biden family deal-making. Because, you know, the Hunter Biden side of the aisle is still bullying. They're attacking the IRS whistleblower, and they're attacking that whistleblower after Hunter's own lawyers demanded Biden's DOJ go after Hunter's critics.
Well, one of the best plays of the deep state is to say they're investigating something and withhold information from Congress. You know, listen, I've been doing investigations now for 8 years. I can't tell you how frustrating it is. I can't tell you how Congress's constitutional responsibility of oversight investigation has been pretty well neutered because we have no enforcement mechanisms, and the administration has figured out a way to deny us the materials that we need to give the American public the information they deserve. Yeah, this is completely out of control here.
The president works for taxpayers. We don't work for him. The whistleblower is talking about DOJ conflicts of interest to protect the president. And that whistleblower, by the way, is protected by whistleblower laws. Let's watch the IRS whistleblower's lawyer, Mark Little, with Brett Baer. Watch this. Let's get your reaction.
My client wants to come forward. He's not a political person. He's not a social media person. He's not coming here with a political agenda. He's been at the IRS for more than 10 years, and now he's a supervisory special agent. He's been trusted at the IRS. He has spotted and observed things that are done differently in this particular matter, which I can't identify. And he wants to talk about them, and he believes that they were influenced by politics. One of the things my client insists on is that he only come in to talk to both Democrats and Republicans, and they can all ask him questions and cross-examine him. And he has documents that'll support what he has to say.
Well, my gut is there will be enough to launch a probe. We have to get all the T's crossed, the I's dotted. We've got to obviously see the information. We're not quite at that stage yet. But if it is as it seems, I mean, this is very, very serious. There's a host of problems, certainly a tax issue besides the obstruction.
You know, so that was Jeff Van Drew, Congressman there. Senator, it's not more insiders in government are talking. It's not just the IRS whistleblower. NBC reporting there's, quote, growing frustration inside the FBI because the FBI and IRS finished most of their work on Hunter Biden's tax evasion about a year ago. The Washington Post reported back in October, 6 months ago, they wanted to move on charges back then, and this has been languishing, sitting around. So these are D.C. political appointees doing the bidding. Is A.G. Garland telling them to sit on the case, or are they sending dog whistles to the lower ranks of DOJ to protect the president and protect Hunter Biden here?
I think the majority of people that work inside government agencies are people of integrity. They are committed to a very nonpartisan mission. The problem is the political appointees have burrowed themselves in pretty deep in these agencies, and people are getting frustrated. So we need more whistleblowers. That's the bottom line. You know, in the private sector, if you retaliate against people that would, whistleblow, you'd be sued out of existence. It is jaw-dropping how agencies get away with retaliating against whistleblowers. It's also jaw-dropping. You know, we have a law called Freedom of Information Act. That should just compel agencies to turn over documents to the public that are requested. They don't do that. Though, public has to go to the courts. And good thing we have some of these public interest groups that actually will pay the legal expenses to do that. Congress shouldn't have to be begging it as well. We should be getting this information because the American public has the right to know, but it's not forthcoming.
This is the government we're paying for. Senator Johnson, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll have you back on again soon.